Welcome everybody, this is Christian and today I'm going to give a quick review of Star Wars Catalyst, a Rogue One novel. I really enjoyed this book. One aspect that I really liked about it is that I felt that it blended the two time periods of the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy so much more coherently than most other books, novels, TV shows, and games and all that kind of stuff. It's a time period that it's a challenging time to talk about because unfortunately the two movie trilogies just feel entirely different. The Clone Wars have all this advanced technology and really advanced droids, and the original trilogy is much grittier and darker, and just the technology doesn't seem to be as smooth and clean and advanced. And it's hard to get those two things together, as well as the transition in the movies from Republic to Empire is really jarring. But this actually shows a little bit of the corruption and the dark side, that in dark spots that were in the Republic that just grew even more during the Empire. Simple things of subtle mistrust and preference against non-humans. Natural biases could be exaggerated over this prolonged war fought with the Separatists, who were mostly non-human. Frustration with the Jedi and mistrust of the Jedi, and them guarding certain aspects of their order in these crystals that a lot of people think they could be used to greater use, as well as the Republic building the beginning stages of the Death Star, even before it became an empire. The main character of this novel is Galen Erso, who is Jan Erso's father, in which you've seen quite a bit of him in the Rogue One trailers, as well as Jan. And so this is him as a scientist slowly being manipulated and brought into the Death Star project to work on this, unknowingly to him, the super weapon. This manipulation is orchestrated by Orson Krennic, who is the head of the construction of the Death Star. Now, we all know eventually Tarkin gains command of the Death Star, and in this book it sets them up as rivals who are thwarting each other's plans, definitely to the detriment of the Empire itself, but they rather get ahead in their own careers than what's good for the Empire. So it definitely shows like a interesting infighting that would be happening on the upper levels of Imperial politics. Something very similar that you would see in a dictatorial or a fascist regime that we've seen in our own histories. There's several other interesting side characters, like this smuggler employed by Orson, as well as Glenn Erso's wife, and a few other side mercenaries are definitely pretty interesting. Overall, I really enjoyed this book, and I would highly recommend it for those that want to see this transition period from Republic to Empire, as well as some interesting canon that gets revealed that I'll talk about a little bit later. So that's the end of my non-spoiler review, and I'll go ahead and talk about some important canon issues that were revealed. The one that I already kind of spoiled was that the Death Star was actually being built by the Republic. They only got into the early stages of it, but the Death Star was secretly being built, hidden from the Senate and the Jedi's knowledge, under obviously a strategic group that was orchestrated by the Emperor, or Supreme Chancellor at the time. The nature of kyber crystals are also explored, and the fact that they're partially organic, respond to the Force, as well as could have some possible effects on humans around them, is definitely pretty interesting. The introduction of legacy worlds, which are very similar to World Heritage sites in our world, were being illegally seized and exploited for the resources for the Death Star project. As well as the competition between Orson Krennic and Tarkin for control of the Death Star. It was just a really interesting detail of the inner workings of both the Republic and the Empire, and how, sadly to say, it wasn't that dramatic of a shift from one to the other as shown in the movies from mostly the Jedi's perspective. From a person just doing their job, being a scientist or a soldier or a smuggler, authority was authority, and during the war, after the war, it wasn't that much of a shift until it was getting a little bit darker later on in the war. I would highly recommend, even after listening to this canon discussion, to please go out and try this book out. If you buy it, go ahead and use the Amazon link in the description below, or just get it from your library. I hope you've enjoyed this review, and I hope you enjoyed the novel. If you have or haven't, please write in the comment section below. Thank you. Goodbye.